parents forbid me and my sister from doing homework because a woman's only purpose is marriage. When I set up a tripwire in my room, I caught my sister coming in at 3 a.m. with a bowl of acid from chemistry class. Homework was basically forbidden in my house. My parents made sure my older sister Leah, who was only older than me by 8 months, and I never did any homework. Leah was super charismatic, a people magnet. She could make you blush and smile just from a look. On the other hand, I was hardly a tomboy. I say that because I literally only took an interest in cars and liked doing things hands-on and messy. But when we hit puberty, it's like we had a Freaky Friday because we swapped. You see, in my parents' eyes, getting married and having children was a woman's only purpose on this earth. So anything outside of that was disgusting and extremely immoral. It's not even like they were religious or anything, just straight up batshit crazy. At first, it seemed like the rules only applied to me. Whenever I tried to do my usual hobbies like soccer or playing with my trucks, my parents would wail on me because I wasn't acting like a woman, and Leah would always comfort me and tell me she loved me for who I was no matter what. But then the rules started hitting her too. Because as well as being charismatic, she was also a huge nerd. Loved reading, spent her free time getting days ahead on homework. She was in the kitchen doing math one day when my parents completely lost it. Your only job is to clean up and be pretty. They then proceeded to confiscate her calculator, and she ran up to our room crying. Before this, we were free to eat whatever we wanted. Sometimes I'd eat until my stomach was so full I felt like vomiting. But the next day for breakfast, we got a quarter of the portion as usual, and it was a bar designed for weight loss. I swear I thought they were pranking us. But that's when my dad said, "You're becoming a woman now, so you have to act like it." Over the next few days, Mom was gifting us with expensive YSL perfume and other name brand makeup products. She'd spend hours every day showing us how to get the perfect wing and blend foundation properly. And she even told us that if we didn't look like we were at least 16 by the time we were done getting ready for school, then we weren't allowed to go. And to most kids, not going to school would probably sound like a dream. But to us, school was our only escape. "Mom, why are we doing this?" Leah asked, voice shaking. "Honey, in just a few years, all the good men will be gone. And if you don't get one soon, you will die alone. You don't want that now, do you?" She answered Leah's question, but I knew it was a threat to us both. So from there, me and Leah focused all our energy into looking older. We didn't even have time to do our homework or study because of how much time maintenance took. By the time we had both turned 13, we could have passed for 17. Every boy in our grade either wanted me or Leah, and we were getting dozens of Snapchat ads a day. We knew it was kind of weird, but we didn't care. Because when we updated our mom on all this, they'd treat us 100 times better. No yelling, no pain, just a happy family going on trips to Disneyland or beautiful beaches. I think eventually we just convinced ourselves that we had super cool parents who were helping us be the most popular girls in school and let us skip homework and didn't care if our grades were bad. Honestly, things were pretty sweet for a while. Until one day, when Leah started hating me. We were in the middle of doing what we always did, rating each other's Instagram bikini photos and deleting the ones we didn't like. And I showed Leah a loser from our school that was liking all my posts and highlight stories. But instead of laughing like always, Leah went completely silent. I shook her, thinking she was just playing. "Leave me alone," she yelled, before violently swapping phones with me and slamming the door. I didn't know it at the time, but that was the beginning of Leah disowning me as a sister, and instead seeing me as competition. Every morning before school, Leah would glance at my outfit, roll her eyes, and then put on something slightly more revealing. And every night at dinner, she would brag about how many pounds of weight she'd lost. Slowly, my parents started treating her better. It was subtle at first. On her 14th birthday, she got a huge diamond necklace, and on mine, they got me a simple bracelet. But even this wasn't enough for Leah. She needed to eliminate me as an opponent. I started getting this awful gut feeling whenever she was around me, like my intuition warning me that she was going to do something really bad. So I set up a tripwire in my room attached to a bell, so if she ever tried to come in, it would wake me up. And not even a week later, I was fast asleep at 3 a.m. when I heard the alarm ring. As I looked up, the corrosive bowl of acid she had taken from our chem class splashed onto the floor and furniture as well as her hands and face. She screamed out in agony, and our parents rushed into my room to take my sister to the hospital. I was sort of hoping that the whole thing would make our parents realize how insane they'd become, and we could go back to normal. But I was wrong, because instead they started treating me better than Leah. Like, a lot better. And it made her so resentful of me that she wanted to ruin my life, for good. The very next morning, I woke up to find my favorite jeans had been cut into ribbons and scattered across my bedroom floor. My heart sank as I picked up the destroyed fabric, knowing this was just the beginning. I gathered the pieces and shoved them into my backpack, planning to throw them away at school where Mom wouldn't see and ask questions. At breakfast, Leah sat across from me with bandages covering parts of her face and hands. The acid burns weren't severe, but they left red marks that would take weeks to heal. She ate her weight loss bar in tiny bites, watching me through narrowed eyes. I tried to focus on my own breakfast, but my hands shook slightly as I lifted the spoon. Mom bustled around the kitchen, fussing over Leah's bandages and bringing her extra ice water. Dad read his newspaper at the head of the table, occasionally glancing up to smile at me. The favoritism shift was obvious now, where before they'd praised Leah's every move, now they complimented my makeup and asked about the boys messaging me online. I escaped to school as quickly as possible, but the damage had already started there too. In first period, I noticed people whispering and glancing at me. By lunch, I understood why. Someone had printed screenshots of fake messages, supposedly from me, talking about how I thought I was better than everyone else. The papers were taped inside bathroom stalls, tucked into lockers, and even posted on the cafeteria bulletin board. I spent my lunch period tearing them down, my face burning with embarrassment. The messages used my exact writing style, down to the way I spelled certain words. Only someone who knew me really well could have faked them so convincingly. That afternoon in chemistry class, our teacher announced we'd be switching lab partners for safety reasons after the acid incident. I ended up paired with Anna, a quiet girl who usually sat in the back. She helped me through the experiment, and when class ended, she slipped me a note. I read it in the hallway. "I saw your sister printing those papers in the library this morning." My stomach turned. I'd suspected Leah, but having confirmation made it real. I thanked Anna quietly, and spent the rest of the day trying to figure out my next move. At home, I found my makeup collection had been tampered with. My foundation was mixed with something grainy, my favorite lipstick was melted, and my eyeshadow palettes were smashed. I cleaned up the mess before Mom could see, using tissues to wipe away the destroyed cosmetics. If she knew I couldn't do my makeup properly, she might not let me go to school. That evening, I borrowed some of Mom's makeup to get ready for dinner. Leah smirked when she saw me using the wrong shade of foundation, but I pretended not to notice. During the meal, she told our parents about a boy named Sebastian, who'd asked her to hang out after school. She made sure to mention he was 17 and had his own car. Mom's eyes lit up with interest, and she peppered Leah with questions about Sebastian's family and future plans. I pushed my food around my plate, having lost my appetite. Dad reached over and patted my hand, telling me not to worry because I was the pretty one now. His words made my skin crawl, but I forced a smile. Later that night, I reinforced my bedroom security. I wedged a chair under the doorknob and moved my dresser to block the window. As I lay in bed, I heard footsteps in the hallway that paused outside my door. The doorknob rattled slightly, then the footsteps retreated. I barely slept. The next day brought new challenges. My locker combination had been changed somehow, and I had to get the janitor to cut the lock. Inside, I found all my notebooks soaked in what smelled like perfume. The pages were ruined, my class notes destroyed. I salvaged what I could and threw the rest away. During PE, someone had filled my gym shoes with honey. I discovered this by stepping into them and feeling the sticky mess squeeze between my toes. I had to sit out of class to clean them in the bathroom sink, earning a lecture from the teacher about being prepared. Anna found me after school, looking concerned. She told me she'd overheard Leah talking to some older kids about planning something bigger. She didn't know the details but warned me to be careful. I thanked her again, grateful to have at least one person looking out for me. At home, home, I started documenting everything. I took photos of the destroyed items, saved the fake messages, and wrote down dates and times of each incident. I hid the evidence in an old shoebox in the back of my closet, wrapped in plastic to protect it. Dinner that night was tense. Leah bragged about how Sebastian had complimented her outfit and asked for her Instagram. Mom praised her for knowing how to keep a man interested. I stayed quiet, focusing on eating my tiny portion of food without complaint. I wonder what's really driving these parents to push such extreme rules on their daughters. The whole woman's only purpose thing while not being religious makes me curious about their actual motivations here. The harassment escalated over the following days. My homework disappeared from my backpack, only to reappear in the trash with food dumped on it. My phone mysteriously lost all its contacts. Someone kept signing me up for embarrassing email lists that flooded my inbox. I started carrying my important belongings with me everywhere, even to the bathroom. I changed my passwords daily and avoided leaving anything in my locker. The constant vigilance was exhausting, but I couldn't let my guard down. One morning, I woke up to find my hair tangled in massive knots. Someone had put something sticky in it while I slept, despite my precautions. I spent an hour in the bathroom trying to comb it out, eventually having to cut out several chunks. I styled what remained to hide the damage, but Leah's satisfied smile at breakfast told me she knew exactly what had happened. The psychological warfare was taking its toll. I jumped at sudden noises, constantly checked over my shoulder, and struggled to concentrate in class. My grades, already poor from lack of studying, dropped even further. Teachers started expressing concern, but I couldn't explain without revealing everything about my home life. Anna became my lifeline at school. She'd warn me if she saw Leah near my locker or overheard her making plans. We couldn't be seen together too often, or Leah might target her too. So we developed a system of subtle signals and hidden notes. The situation reached a new low when I discovered my social media accounts had been hacked. Inappropriate messages were sent to classmates, and embarrassing posts were made on my timeline. I spent hours doing damage control, apologizing to people, and trying to explain that it wasn't me. Some believed me, but others didn't. Mom noticed the drop in my online popularity and started questioning why fewer boys were messaging me. I made excuses about being busy with school, but her disapproval was clear. She reminded me about dying alone if I didn't maintain male attention. I started sleeping with my phone under my pillow and my backpack strapped to my body. The exhaustion from constant hypervigilance made it harder to maintain the perfect appearance Mom demanded. Dark circles formed under my eyes that even concealer couldn't fully hide. Anna started leaving me tips about self-defense and security in our shared locker during gym class. She found articles about home security and printed them out, highlighting the most useful parts. I memorized every word during lunch, eating alone in the library to avoid Leah's growing circle of older friends. The following week, I discovered my toothbrush had been used to clean something disgusting. The bristles were brown and smelled like toilet water. I threw it away immediately and started keeping a spare hidden in my backpack. Every morning became a careful inspection of all my personal items before using them. At school, Leah's campaign intensified. She befriended the yearbook committee and somehow got access to unflattering photos of me from middle school. These started appearing in my locker, under my desk, and even taped to the bathroom mirrors. Each photo had cruel comments written in Leah's distinctive handwriting. I collected every single one, adding them to my growing evidence box. The shoebox was getting full, so I transferred everything to a larger container that I hid in the attic crawl space. Getting up there required careful timing when everyone was asleep. Mom started comparing us more openly at dinner. She'd examine our faces, commenting on whose skin looked clearer or whose waistline seemed smaller. These comparisons always ended with advice about which one of us needed to try harder. The weight loss bars became even smaller portions. One afternoon, I came home to find Leah in my room despite the chair wedged under the door. She'd somehow removed the doorknob entirely and was going through my closet. When she saw me, she simply smiled and walked past me, carrying several of my favorite shirts. I found them later in the garbage, covered in bleach stains. I installed a new doorknob with a key lock using YouTube tutorials and tools I borrowed from shop class. The teacher didn't ask questions when I explained I needed them for a home project. I made 3 copies of the key, hiding them in different locations around school and one in my shoe. Leah retaliated by telling Mom I was being secretive and probably hiding something inappropriate. This led to Mom conducting surprise room inspections, forcing me to move my evidence collection to Anna's house temporarily. Anna's parents were rarely home, and she had a spare key I could use. The sleep deprivation started affecting my appearance more noticeably. Mom threatened to keep me home from school if I didn't look presentable enough. I started waking up at 4 a.m. to ensure I had enough time for the elaborate makeup routine, even though it meant only getting 3 hours of sleep. At school, I noticed Leah had started dating Sebastian officially. He was tall, drove a red sports car, and seemed completely charmed by her. She made sure to parade him past my locker every morning, whispering things that made him laugh while looking directly at me. Anna warned me she'd seen Leah near the chemistry supply closet again. We both knew what that meant. I started checking my food and drinks for unusual tastes or smells, often going hungry rather than risk eating something tampered with. The hunger combined with sleep deprivation made me dizzy during classes. One morning, I found my school uniform soaked in what looked like fruit juice but smelled like vinegar. All my backup clothes were similarly destroyed. I had to wear gym clothes to class, earning a detention for dress code violation. Leah's satisfied expression during the detention announcement told me everything. I started keeping spare uniforms in Anna's locker and another set in a hidden spot behind the gymnasium. The constant planning and backup preparations consumed most of my mental energy. My grades continued to plummet, but survival took precedence over academics. The situation at home grew more toxic. Dad started making comments about how I wasn't trying hard enough to attract boys like Leah was. He'd compare us constantly, always finding ways I fell short. The favoritism that had briefly swung my way was completely gone. I discovered Leah had been taking photos of me while I slept. I found them on her phone when she left it charging in the kitchen. The photos showed me in unflattering positions, mouth open, hair messy. Some had already been edited with cruel captions. I deleted them all but knew she probably had backups. Anna suggested I start recording evidence of Leah's behavior. I began using my phone to secretly film interactions, keeping the videos backed up on a cloud account Leah didn't know about. The storage filled up quickly with footage of her schemes. One particularly bad day, I found my retainer filled with hot sauce. The burning sensation made my eyes water for hours. Later, my deodorant had been replaced with glue stick. Each small attack wore down my defenses a little more. I started checking every single item multiple times before using it. Leah began spreading rumors that I was jealous of her relationship with Sebastian. She told people I'd tried to steal him, completely reversing the truth. Some classmates started avoiding me, not wanting to get involved in sister drama. My social circle shrank to just Anna and a few others who saw through the lies. Mom announced at dinner that she was proud of Leah for maintaining her weight loss while keeping a boyfriend interested. She then turned to me with disappointment, noting that I'd gained 2 pounds according to the bathroom scale. The truth was I'd been skipping so many meals that gaining weight was impossible. Leah had clearly tampered with the scale. I started weighing myself at the school nurse's office to track my real weight, which was dropping dangerously low. The nurse expressed concern, but I brushed it off as stress from exams. She gave me protein bars to keep in my locker, which I hid carefully to prevent Leah from finding them. The next escalation came when I discovered my homework had been submitted to teachers with wrong answers filled in. My math teacher showed me the paper, confused why I'd suddenly forgotten basic algebra. The handwriting was almost perfect, but I recognized Leah's particular way of writing certain numbers. I had to start submitting homework directly to teachers instead of leaving it in the designated bins. This meant staying after class and explaining to each teacher why I needed special accommodation. Most were understanding, but some clearly thought I was being paranoid. Leah's relationship with Sebastian gave her access to his car, which she used to follow me after school. I'd see the red sports car trailing behind as I walked to Anna's house or the library. The intimidation tactic worked. I started taking different routes, doubling back, and using store entrances to lose them. One afternoon, I came home to find Mom teaching Leah advanced makeup techniques for looking older. They were practicing contouring to appear more mature, with Mom explaining how important it was to keep Sebastian interested. When Mom saw me, she criticized my appearance and sent me to fix my smudged eyeliner. I discovered Leah had been intercepting mail addressed to me. College brochures and scholarship information I'd requested never arrived. I found them weeks later in the trash, water damaged and useless. My future planning had to become another secret activity. Anna helped me set up a P.O. box at the post office using her address. We split the rental cost, and I started having all-important mail sent there. The post office was a 20-minute walk from school, but it was worth it for the security. The physical attacks became more dangerous. Talk about going from 0 to 60. This turned into Mission Impossible meets Mean Girls with a side of household hazard training. Leah is basically running a masterclass in sibling warfare, while our narrator's becoming a teenage spy just to brush her teeth safely. I found broken glass in my shoes one morning, catching it only because I developed the habit of checking everything. Another day, the handrail on the stairs had been loosened, nearly causing me to fall when it gave way under my weight. I started documenting injuries with photos, even small bruises or cuts. The evidence collection had grown to fill 2 large containers at Anna's house. We organized everything by date and type of incident, preparing for the day I might need to prove what had been happening. Mom's obsession with our appearance reached new heights. She started requiring weekly progress photos to track our development into women. These humiliating photo sessions happened every Sunday, with Mom critiquing every aspect of our bodies and faces. Leah always managed to look perfect, while I struggled to hide my exhaustion and stress. Sebastian began showing up at our house more frequently. Mom adored him, constantly praising Leah for catching such a good-looking older boy. During these visits, Leah would send me subtle threatening looks whenever our parents weren't watching. The message was clear about staying away from her boyfriend. I noticed Leah had started accessing my social media accounts again despite my password changes. She was more subtle this time, just unliking posts from people I cared about or unfollowing accounts that mattered to me. The small changes were designed to isolate me without being obvious. Anna helped me set up 2-factor authentication on everything. We spent an entire afternoon securing every account I owned. She also taught me about VPNs and private browsing, tools that became essential for keeping any online activity private from Leah's prying eyes. The food tampering escalated beyond just bad tastes. I bit into an apple to find it had been injected with something that made me violently ill. I spent hours in the bathroom, missing an important test. When I tried to explain to the teacher, she said I needed a doctor's note for a makeup exam. Going to the doctor meant telling Mom I was sick, which would lead to questions I couldn't answer. Instead, I accepted the 0 on the test and watched my grade point average drop even further. Each academic failure felt like another victory for Leah. I started eating only sealed food that I purchased myself and kept hidden. Granola bars, sealed fruit cups, and bottled water became my entire diet. The limited nutrition made me weak, but at least I knew it was safe. My hiding spots for food multiplied around school and even outside our house. Leah discovered one of my food stashes behind the garage and contaminated everything with dish soap. The wasted food meant going hungry for 2 days until I could buy more without Mom noticing. She monitored our spending closely, making every purchase a strategic decision. Anna noticed I was losing weight rapidly and started bringing extra lunch for me. We'd eat in empty classrooms or behind the school where Leah wouldn't see. These meals became the highlight of my days, brief moments of normalcy in the chaos. The psychological games intensified when Leah started leaving notes in my belongings. They contained threats disguised as sister advice, warning me about accidents that might happen if I didn't start being more careful. Each note was written in a way that would sound innocent if shown to adults. I kept every note, photographing them immediately in case they disappeared. The cloud storage account filled with evidence faster than I could organize it. Anna helped me create a detailed timeline of events, preparing for an eventual confrontation. Mom announced that Leah would be attending a special summer program for young ladies, designed to teach them how to be perfect wives. The program cost thousands of dollars, money that had originally been saved for both our futures. When I asked about my summer plans, Mom said I needed to work on myself first. The unfairness burned, but I stayed silent. Any protest would be seen as jealousy and used against me. Instead, I started researching free programs and opportunities I could pursue without parental support. Anna's family offered to help with application fees. One morning, I woke up to find all my school notebooks replaced with identical blank ones. A semester's worth of notes vanished overnight. The timing was deliberate, right before final exams. I had to borrow notes from classmates and spend every free moment trying to recreate what I'd lost. Leah began using Sebastian to expand her harassment. He'd rev his engine outside my classroom windows or block my path in hallways. When teachers asked about it, he'd claim it was accidental. His size and popularity made people reluctant to challenge him. I started recording these incidents on my phone, building video evidence of the pattern. Anna helped by filming from different angles when possible. We were creating an undeniable record that couldn't be dismissed as sibling rivalry. The bathroom at home became another battlefield. Products were constantly tampered with, from shampoo mixed with hair remover to toothpaste replaced with other substances. I kept travel-sized toiletries in my backpack and showered at school after gym class whenever possible. Mom noticed my increasingly elaborate security measures and accused me of being paranoid. She threatened to send me to therapy for my trust issues. The irony of needing therapy because of problems she'd created wasn't lost on me, but I kept that observation to myself. I discovered Leah had been telling extended family members lies about my behavior. Aunts and uncles who used to be friendly now gave me suspicious looks at family gatherings. My support system shrank even further, leaving me more isolated and vulnerable. Anna's house became my refuge, but I couldn't stay there too often without raising suspicions. Her parents started asking questions about my home life that I couldn't answer honestly. We had to limit my visits to avoid putting her family in an awkward position. The evidence collection grew to fill 3 large containers. Anna and I spent a weekend organizing everything chronologically, creating an index of incidents. We made backup copies of all digital evidence and stored them in multiple locations. The preparation felt like building a legal case. Mom's fixation on our appearance reached disturbing new levels. She started talking about cosmetic procedures we should consider for our 16th birthdays. Leah enthusiastically agreed, while I felt sick at the thought. The pressure to physically transform ourselves for male attention was relentless. I found my birth certificate and social security card hidden in Mom's room and made copies without her knowledge. These documents would be essential for any future independence. I hid them in a waterproof bag buried in Anna's backyard, along with cash I'd been saving from lunch money. Leah's schemes became more sophisticated. She learned my schedule and would appear wherever I tried to find peace. The library, empty classrooms, even the nurse's office became contested territory. I had to constantly change my routines to avoid her. One particularly cruel attack involved my art project, something I'd spent weeks creating for the only class I still enjoyed. I found it destroyed in the art room, torn to pieces and covered in paint. The teacher gave me an extension, but the creative spark was gone. Art had been my last outlet, and now even that was tainted. The summer program acceptance letter arrived for Leah, and Mom threw a celebration dinner. She invited Sebastian and his parents, presenting Leah as the perfect future daughter-in-law. I served the meal while they discussed wedding possibilities, my existence barely acknowledged, except when someone needed a refill. That night, I lay in bed planning my survival strategy for the next 2 years, until I could legally leave. Every detail mattered, from maintaining grades just high enough to graduate to saving every penny possible. Anna and I researched emancipation laws, though the requirements seemed impossibly complex. The evidence collection had become substantial enough that we needed a better storage solution. Anna's older brother, who was in college, agreed to keep some containers in his dorm room. He didn't ask questions, just accepted that his sister was helping a friend in need. As sophomore year drew to a close, the attack showed no signs of stopping. If anything, Leah seemed emboldened by her success and Mom's approval. Each day required military-level strategic planning just to survive, but I was learning, adapting, and building towards something Leah couldn't anticipate. The shoebox that had once held a few destroyed items had evolved into a comprehensive archive of abuse. Anna and I had developed systems for evidence collection, storage, and protection that would impress professional investigators. We were no longer just documenting incidents. We were building an irrefutable case. My transformation wasn't the one Mom had envisioned. Instead of becoming the perfect potential wife, I was becoming a survivor. Every attack taught me new defensive strategies. Every scheme revealed more about Leah's patterns and weaknesses. The hunted was slowly learning to become the hunter. The physical toll was undeniable. I'd lost 15 pounds from the restricted diet and constant stress. Dark circles had become permanent fixtures under my eyes. But there was a hardness developing too. A resilience that Leah's cruelty had inadvertently forged. I was counting down the days, not to surrender, but to strike back. Anna remained my constant ally, risking her own safety to help me. We developed contingency plans for various scenarios, from emergency escapes to evidence preservation. Our friendship had evolved into something deeper, forged in the fire of shared adversity. As I prepared for another sleepless night, checking locks and securing belongings, I thought about the future. Anna's brother just takes evidence containers to his dorm without asking questions. That's oddly convenient timing. Makes me wonder what Anna told him to get that kind of no questions asked help from a college student who probably has his own problems to worry about. Leah believed she was winning, that each attack brought her closer to eliminating me as competition. What she didn't realize was that she was creating her own eventual downfall. Every piece of evidence, every documented incident, every witnessed cruelty was building toward a reckoning she couldn't imagine. The war between us was far from over, but I was no longer the naive girl who'd simply wanted to work on cars and play soccer. That girl had been replaced by someone harder, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous. Leah had created her perfect adversary, and soon, very soon, she would learn what that meant. The next morning brought a new level of danger. I woke to find my alarm clock had been tampered with, set 2 hours late. Racing through my morning routine, I discovered my school ID had been cut in half. Without it, I couldn't enter the building or access the cafeteria. The security guard at the front entrance turned me away despite my explanations. Anna met me outside with her spare visitor pass from volunteering at the office. We snuck in through the gym entrance during PE class changeover. The close call made my hands shake as I rushed to first period, already 20 minutes late. The teacher marked me tardy without looking up from her desk. During lunch, Anna pulled me aside with urgent news. She'd overheard Leah planning something major for the upcoming parent-teacher conferences. The details were vague, but it involved Sebastian and several of his friends creating some kind of disruption. We spent the rest of lunch strategizing countermeasures. That afternoon, I discovered Leah had signed me up for after-school detention using forged signatures on disciplinary forms. The vice principal showed me 3 separate incident reports, all claiming I'd been caught cheating. The handwriting was close enough to mine that arguing seemed pointless. I served the detention, using the time to organize my evidence photos on my phone. At home, Mom announced that Leah would be getting her own room as a reward for maintaining her relationship with Sebastian. My belongings would be moved to the basement storage area that had been hastily converted with a camping cot. The unfairness stung, but the distance from Leah might actually improve my safety. The basement was damp and cold, with exposed pipes and a single bare bulb for light. I spent hours cleaning years of dust and arranging my few remaining possessions. Anna donated an old sleeping bag and battery-powered lamp. We installed a simple door alarm using supplies from the hardware store. Leah's schemes grew bolder with our physical separation. She began leaving my bedroom door open during the day, allowing Mom to see the mess she'd created by dumping trash and dirty clothes everywhere. Mom's lectures about cleanliness became daily occurrences, each one ending with threats about my future prospects. I started documenting the staged messes with before and after photos, catching Leah in the act several times. She'd wait until I left for school, then sneak down to destroy my careful organization. The evidence folder on my phone grew larger each day. Sebastian's harassment at school escalated. He'd shoulder check me in hallways, always making it look accidental. His friends joined in, forming walls that forced me to be late for classes. Teachers grew frustrated with my constant tardiness, not seeing the orchestrated nature of the delays. Anna developed a buddy system where she or another trusted friend would walk with me between classes. We varied our routes and timing to avoid predictable patterns. The system worked until Leah noticed and began spreading rumors that I was paranoid and unstable. One morning, I found my entire wardrobe had been soaked with what smelled like fish oil. The stench was overwhelming, and nothing could mask it. I had to wear the same outfit I'd slept in, earning more criticism from Mom about my declining appearance. Anna brought me spare clothes to keep in various hiding spots around school. The parent-teacher conferences arrived with the chaos Leah had promised. Sebastian and his friends pulled fire alarms during the meetings, causing evacuations that disrupted everything. In the confusion, Leah told several of my teachers that I'd been planning to drop out. They began treating me differently, assuming I'd given up on education. I spent hours after school correcting the misinformation, meeting with each teacher individually to explain my commitment to graduating. Some believed me, others remained skeptical. My guidance counselor suggested I consider alternative education programs, clearly influenced by Leah's lies. The evidence collection required a new strategy as physical storage became impossible in the basement. Anna's brother upgraded our cloud storage and taught us about encrypted folders. We spent entire weekends digitizing everything, creating multiple backups across different platforms. Leah discovered one of my food stashes and replaced everything with identical packages filled with salt water. The first bite of what should have been a granola bar made me gag. I had to become even more creative with hiding spots, using hollow books and false bottoms in old containers. Mom's weekly photo sessions became more humiliating. She started comparing our bodies directly, making us stand side by side while she pointed out flaws. Leah had learned to contort her posture to appear thinner, while I struggled to hide the effects of malnutrition and stress. The summer program departure date approached, and Leah's attacks intensified. She seemed determined to completely break me before leaving. I found my birth certificate had been torn into pieces, though thankfully I had copies hidden at Anna's house. My social security card was missing entirely. Anna's family offered to let me stay with them during Leah's absence, but I knew Mom would never allow it. Instead, we planned daily check-ins and established emergency protocols. Anna's older brother gave me a burner phone to keep hidden for absolute emergencies. 3 days before Leah's departure, I woke to find my hair had been cut while I slept. Chunks were missing from the back, impossible to hide or style around. The basement door showed no signs of tampering, meaning Leah had found another way in. I spent my last savings on a cheap wig from the dollar store. Mom's reaction to my appearance was explosive. She accused me of self-harm and attention-seeking behavior. The irony of her concern about my looks while ignoring the obvious abuse was overwhelming. I sat through her lecture in silence, planning my next moves. The night before Leah left, she made her final major attack. I woke to strange noises and found her pouring bottles of bleach over my remaining clothes and schoolwork. The fumes burned my eyes and throat. She smiled at me through the darkness before disappearing upstairs. I spent hours trying to salvage what I could, but the damage was complete. Everything reeked of chemicals. My notebooks, assignments, and even my evidence binders were ruined. Only the digital copies remained safe in the cloud. Anna arrived early the next morning with emergency supplies. We watched from my basement window as Mom drove Leah to the airport for her summer program. The house felt different without her presence, but I knew this was just a temporary reprieve. Mom's behavior shifted without Leah to compare me to. She became hypercritical of every aspect of my appearance and behavior. Without her golden child present, all her dissatisfaction focused on me. The weight loss bars became my only meals, and she monitored my consumption carefully. I used Leah's absence to rebuild. Anna and I worked systematically to restore my wardrobe from thrift stores and organize new evidence systems. We prepared for Leah's return by establishing safe houses and emergency protocols. Every detail was planned meticulously. The freedom to move through the house without constant constant sabotage felt strange. I could shower without checking for tampering, eat without fear of poisoning, and sleep without barricades. But I maintained my vigilance, knowing this peace was temporary. Mom started talking about finding me a boyfriend before Leah returned. She arranged awkward meetings with sons of her friends, all older boys who looked at me with uncomfortable interest. I made myself as unappealing as possible during these encounters, talking about car engines and sports until they lost interest. Anna helped me research legal options for emancipation. The requirements were strict, needing proof of income and living arrangements I couldn't provide. We pivoted to planning for the day I turned 18, creating detailed escape strategies and backup plans. 2 weeks into Leah's absence, I made a crucial discovery. While helping Mom with laundry, I found letters from the summer program in her drawer. The program wasn't about becoming a perfect wife. It was an intensive therapy camp for troubled teens. Mom had lied to both of us about its true nature. The revelation changed everything. I photographed the letters and intake forms, which detailed Leah's violent tendencies and concerning behavior toward her sister. Mom had known about the acid attack's deliberate nature all along, but chose to maintain her twisted worldview instead of protecting me. I spent days processing this information with Anna. We realized Mom's enabling went deeper than ignorance. She actively chose to sacrifice my safety for her delusions about perfect daughters catching husbands. The evidence took on new significance as proof of systematic neglect. Anna's brother, studying pre-law, reviewed our evidence collection. He helped us organize everything into a coherent timeline with supporting documentation. While we couldn't pursue legal action as minors, we were building an irrefutable case for future protection. Mom received weekly updates from Leah's program. Her mood swung wildly based on progress reports. Mom's playing three-dimensional chess while everyone else is stuck playing checkers, sending her violent daughter to therapy camp while pretending it's wife training school. Good weeks meant slightly larger food portions for me. Bad weeks brought intense criticism and new restrictions. I learned to read her moods and adjust my behavior accordingly. I discovered Mom had been intercepting letters from Leah to me. Hidden in her closet were dozens of unopened envelopes. I carefully steamed them open, photographing each one before resealing them. The contents revealed Leah's growing resentment and detailed plans for revenge upon her return. The letters described how she was manipulating the therapy sessions, telling counselors what they wanted to hear while maintaining her hatred toward me. She'd convinced them her behavior stemmed from jealousy over parental favoritism, painting herself as the victim. The program was buying her act completely. With 3 weeks left before Leah's return, I intensified my preparations. Anna and I established code words for different emergency scenarios. We practiced escape routes from various locations and timed how long it took to reach safe spaces. Every contingency was accounted for. Mom announced she was redecorating Leah's room as a welcome home surprise. She spent thousands on new furniture and designer bedding. My basement space remained unchanged, the contrast stark. I documented everything, knowing it would matter someday. I found a part-time job at a local grocery store, lying about my age to get hired. The manager, desperate for weekend help, didn't check too carefully. I hid my work clothes at Anna's house and changed there before shifts. Every penny went into a secret bank account Anna's brother helped me open. Mom never noticed my absences. Too focused on preparing for Leah's return, she planned elaborate welcome home parties and invited extended family, the house filled with decorations and gifts. I wasn't included in any of the preparations. A week before Leah's return, I received an anonymous email to the account only Anna knew about. The message contained a single line: "She's been planning. Be ready." The sender's address was untraceable, but the warning felt genuine. I increased my security measures. Anna and I spent an entire night backing up our evidence to multiple new locations. We created physical copies of the most crucial documents and distributed them to trusted friends. The network of allies had grown quietly, classmates who'd witnessed Leah's cruelty and wanted to help. Mom's excitement reached fever pitch as the return date approached. She talked constantly about how much Leah must have grown and matured. The therapy program sent glowing final reports about her progress. I kept my skepticism hidden, playing the role of supportive sister. The morning of Leah's return, I woke to find a note slipped under my basement door. Written in Leah's handwriting, it said simply, "Round 2 starts now." She wasn't supposed to arrive until evening. My blood ran cold as I realized she'd come home early. I grabbed my emergency bag and headed to Anna's house. We spent the day finalizing our defensive strategies and reviewing escape routes. As evening approached, I knew I had to return home for the welcome party or face Mom's wrath. The house buzzed with relatives and family friends when I arrived. Leah stood in the center of attention, looking polished and perfect. She'd gained weight in a way that enhanced her curves, and her skin glowed with health. The contrast to my malnourished appearance was deliberate and effective. She hugged me in front of everyone, whispering threats disguised as sisterly affection. The relatives cooed over our bond, while she dug her nails into my arms hard enough to leave marks. I maintained my smile, knowing any reaction would be used against me. During dinner, Leah regaled everyone with stories about her summer program, carefully edited to sound like a luxury retreat. She thanked Mom repeatedly for the opportunity, playing the grateful daughter perfectly. The performance was flawless, and I recognized the danger in her newfound sophistication. After the guests left, the real Leah emerged. She cornered me in the kitchen while Mom cleaned up, her smile cold and calculating. She explained how the therapy had taught her about psychological manipulation, lessons she intended to apply with scientific precision. The war between us had evolved. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound could be her approaching. The basement felt like a trap rather than a refuge. I texted Anna updates every hour, maintaining contact with the outside world. The burner phone stayed clutched in my hand. Morning brought new rules from Mom. Inspired by Leah's transformation, she implemented strict schedules for both of us. Wake-up times, meal plans, beauty routines, and social activities were all regimented. Leah thrived under the structure while I struggled to maintain the demanding pace. The first week passed in tense anticipation. Leah made no obvious moves, instead observing my routines and defenses. She attended her follow-up therapy sessions, returning with workbooks about healthy family dynamics that she left conspicuously around the house. Anna noticed Leah had joined several school committees for the upcoming year, positioning herself in leadership roles. The calculated networking showed her new strategic thinking. We adjusted our plans accordingly, preparing for institutional attacks rather than just personal ones. I continued working secret shifts at the grocery store, building my escape fund slowly. The physical labor provided relief from the mental strain at home. My manager praised my reliability, offering more hours that I carefully balanced with Mom's schedules. Leah's patience broke after 2 weeks. I woke to find my work uniform missing and my phone factory reset. The calculated strikes showed her therapy learned precision. She'd identified my vulnerabilities and struck simultaneously. I had to call in sick to work, risking my job. Anna helped me recover what data we could from cloud backups. The evidence remained safe, but personal photos and messages were gone. We implemented new security protocols, assuming Leah had learned advanced manipulation techniques during her program. Mom announced family counseling sessions to maintain Leah's progress. The therapist, recommended by the summer program, seemed competent but unaware of our true dynamics. Leah painted herself as reformed while subtly suggesting I had unresolved jealousy issues. The sessions became another battlefield. I learned to speak carefully during therapy, neither confirming nor denying Leah's implications. The therapist noticed my guardedness but attributed it to teenage angst. Anna helped me practice responses that seemed cooperative while revealing nothing substantial. Leah's new approach involved public performances of sisterly affection, followed by private psychological warfare. She'd compliment my appearance at dinner, then leave articles about eating disorders on my bed. The whiplash effect was destabilizing, exactly as she intended. School started with Leah positioned as a reformed success story. Teachers who'd witnessed her previous behavior now saw her as mature and responsible. She volunteered for peer counseling, giving her access to vulnerable students' personal information. The potential for abuse was terrifying. I maintained my defensive strategies while adapting to her evolved tactics. Anna and I developed new communication methods, using coded language in casual conversation. Our network of allies expanded carefully, each person vetted thoroughly before being trusted with information. The grocery store job became my lifeline. My manager, a kind woman named Patricia, noticed my exhaustion and started scheduling me for shifts with free meal breaks. The small kindness meant everything. I saved every penny, watching my escape fund grow slowly. Leah discovered my job 3 months after school started. Instead of reporting it to mom immediately, she held the information as leverage. The waiting game showed her new patience and strategic thinking. I continued working, knowing the confrontation was inevitable, but refusing to give up my independence. The weather turned cold, making my basement space nearly unbearable. I wore layers to bed and showered at school after gym class to avoid the freezing pipes. Leah had somehow convinced mom that heating the basement would damage the foundation. The lie was transparent but effective. Anna's family invited me for Thanksgiving, but mom refused permission. She insisted on a perfect family dinner with photos for social media. Leah performed beautifully, while I struggled through the meal shivering in my thin dress. The contrast was captured in every photo. 2 weeks before winter break, everything culminated. Leah revealed my job to mom during a family therapy session, framing it as secretive behavior that proved I was hiding something worse. The therapist expressed concern about my deception, playing directly into Leah's hands. Mom's rage was volcanic. She drove to the grocery store and caused a scene, demanding they fire me immediately. Patricia tried to defend me, but mom threatened legal action for hiring a minor without parental consent. I lost my job, my income, and my one escape from home. The victory emboldened Leah. She suggested to mom that I needed the same intensive therapy program she'd attended. Mom latched onto the idea immediately, starting the application process. I had weeks at most before being sent away, losing my evidence, allies, and any chance at freedom. Anna and I worked frantically to prevent this outcome. Her brother researched the program's admission requirements, finding that parental consent wasn't enough without documented behavioral issues. We needed to act before Leah could manufacture the necessary evidence. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Patricia, my former manager, had security footage of mom's outburst at the store. Patricia keeping security footage of mom's store outburst? The grocery store manager becomes the unexpected hero here. I wonder what made her think to save that recording when most places delete footage after a few days. She offered to provide it as evidence of parental harassment. Combined with our accumulated documentation, it might be enough to prevent my forced admission. I made the hardest decision of my life. Using the burner phone, I contacted the school counselor and requested an emergency meeting. Anna came with me for support. Together, we presented a carefully curated selection of evidence showing the systematic abuse and neglect. The counselor's expression shifted from skepticism to horror as she reviewed photos, videos, and documents. The edited letters from Leah's therapy program proved especially damning. She immediately involved the principal and school resource officer. The investigation moved quickly, but quietly. They interviewed teachers who'd noticed my declining health and erratic attendance. Anna testified about what she'd witnessed. Other students came forward with their own observations of Leah's behavior. Within a week, Child Protective Services became involved. A social worker visited our home, catching mom off guard. The perfect family facade cracked under professional scrutiny. Leah tried her manipulation tactics, but trained professionals recognized the patterns. The social worker found my basement living conditions unacceptable. The lack of heating, proper bedding, and basic amenities constituted neglect. Mom's protests about teaching me humility fell flat. The weight loss bars as primary nutrition raised additional red flags. An emergency custody hearing was scheduled. Mom hired a lawyer and painted me as a troubled teen making false accusations. Leah testified about her own recovery and suggested I was jealous of her progress. Their coordinated performance might have worked without our evidence. Anna's brother helped me organize our documentation for court presentation. The sheer volume was overwhelming. Photos, videos, medical records showing malnutrition, witness statements, and the therapy program letters. The judge reviewed everything carefully. The turning point came when the judge questioned Leah directly. Her practiced responses faltered under professional interrogation. The mask slipped, revealing the calculating person beneath. She made the mistake of mentioning specific incidents she supposedly didn't remember. The judge ordered immediate intervention. I was placed in temporary foster care while the investigation continued. The relief of leaving that house was indescribable. My foster family, experienced with traumatized teens, provided the first safe environment I'd known in years. Anna visited daily, helping me adjust to normal life. Regular meals felt strange. Sleeping without fear took weeks to achieve. The foster parents were patient, understanding that recovery wasn't linear. Mom and Leah were required to undergo intensive therapy, separately and together. The court mandated supervised visitation only. During these awkward meetings, Leah's fury was barely contained. Mom alternated between denial and blaming me for destroying our family. I focused on rebuilding. School provided stability, and my grades slowly improved with proper nutrition and sleep. Teachers who'd written me off expressed amazement at my transformation. Anna remained my constant support, our friendship stronger than ever. The legal process continued for months. Evidence of medical neglect, educational interference, and psychological abuse mounted. Mom's lawyer argued cultural differences and parenting style choices. The prosecution presented clear patterns of systematic abuse. Leah turned 18 during the proceedings and aged out of juvenile jurisdiction. She immediately moved in with Sebastian's family, spinning stories about her traumatic home life. The irony wasn't lost on anyone who knew the truth. The final verdict brought accountability. Mom received probation with mandatory parenting classes and therapy. She was prohibited from unsupervised contact until I turned 18. The house was sold to pay legal fees and court-ordered restitution for my medical treatment. I remained in foster care, thriving in a stable environment. My foster parents helped me apply for colleges, something Mom had forbidden. With Anna's help, I wrote essays about resilience and survival that resonated with admissions committees. Graduation day arrived with mixed emotions. Mom attended but sat separately under court supervision. Leah didn't come, too busy with her new life. Anna and I walked across the stage together, our futures finally our own to shape. I received acceptance letters from multiple colleges with significant financial aid. The foster care system provided additional support for former foster youth. Everything Mom said would be impossible without a husband was happening through my own efforts. Anna and I chose the same university, planning to be roommates. We'd survived the worst together and looked forward to building something better. The evidence collection, once a desperate survival tool, became part of my application to study social work. I wanted to help other trapped teens recognize abuse and find escape routes. My experience, while painful, could serve a purpose. Anna planned to study law, inspired by her brother's help during our ordeal. Moving day was bittersweet. My foster parents had become true family, supporting me unconditionally. They promised to stay in touch and visit often. The stability they'd provided had allowed me to heal and grow. At university, I discovered strength I didn't know existed. Free from constant sabotage, my natural intelligence flourished. Professors praised my insight and work ethic. The girl who'd been forced to fail was finally able to succeed. I kept minimal contact with Mom through supervised emails. She still didn't understand what she'd done wrong, clinging to her twisted worldview. Therapy hadn't changed her fundamental beliefs, only taught her to hide them better. Leah disappeared from my life entirely. Mutual acquaintances reported she'd married Sebastian after a pregnancy scare. At 19, she was living the life Mom had planned for us. The cage she'd helped build had become her own prison. Sometimes I wondered if things could have been different. If Mom had valued education over appearance, if Leah had remained my ally instead of my enemy. But dwelling on what ifs served no purpose. I had survived and escaped, which was victory enough. My story wasn't unique. Through volunteer work and internships, I met countless teens trapped in similar situations. Each one reinforced my determination to help others find their way out. The evidence collection skills Anna and I developed became teaching tools for safety planning. Thanks for letting me wonder alongside alongside you through all of this. Definitely quite the journey we've shared. Until our paths cross again, subscribe for more content like this.